Thank you. So, and we had also looked at who was this Gregor Mendel and then what he was trying to do, and the brief description of like what characters he chose and so on, and also the Charles Darwin theory of pangenesis. This is what we had already seen. These were the 7 characters that Mendel was trying to study. So this we had seen. Now, there are a few more terminologies that we are going to see, but let me start with this particular slide here, which specifically describes the inheritance in humans. Now, what we had seen up till now in terms of all those different terminologies was we spoke of the inheritance in all different species. Now, if we have to speak of specifically the case of the humans or inheritance in humans, that there are various characteristics, literally thousands of those characteristics, which are being inherited from parents, and that is father and mother, and our parents, they would have inherited from their parents, and so on. So this cycle of inheritance is continued from ages, right? And that is how the traits are being transferred from one generation to other. And one of the reason one of the reason of resemblance between cousins or brothers and sisters is because they have common ancestor. Common ancestor does not mean like really far away generation in this case. It means that, like, let's say our cousin brothers or cousins, like immediate cousins, we might look in some characteristics somewhat similar, and the reason is because of like the parental generations, they would have quite a lot in common. So that is the inheritance in humans in general. Now, these terms which are being highlighted here, that we will see at the end after we go over these different characteristics, inherited characteristics. Now, we already know few of them, but we are going to see which one is dominant and which one is recessive. So, for example, the first one, that is the color of the eye. In that case, we have brown and blue, and brown is the dominant one. So in all of these, whichever is highlighted, whichever is underlined is the dominant one, and the other one is recessive characteristic. So that means if you have an individual which has received a copy of gene which codes for brown color of the eye, and it has received the other copy of the allele or other copy of the gene which codes for the blue color of the eye, in that case, the person or the offspring will have brown color because it is the dominant one and not the blue color, even though it has that particular copy. So that's what it means. That means a particular individual, even though he or she has received a copy for brown color of the eye as well as for the blue color of the eye, it will still express or it will still have brown color of the eye, because brown being the dominant gene, right? But in case of the color of the eye, it's not just these two traits that we have. You might have heard or seen green eyes, gray eyes, white eyes, and so on. So there are different types of the color of the eyes. So that is specifically because of the polygenetic trait. What does this mean is, for one particular function, that is the color of the eye, or for one particular phenotype, that is color of the eye, there are various genes or many genes. Poly means many, genetic is the genes for a particular trait. So that means we will have a gene for brown, we will have a gene for blue, we will have a gene for green color of the eye, and so on. So that's why color of the eyes is a polygenetic trait. Unlike second characteristic, which is hair shape, either we can have curly hair or straight hair. There are no more options to it, right? So in that case, curly is the dominant one and the straight is the recessive one. Recessive means again it will not get expressed and the curly one it will get expressed in presence of each other, of course. That means if I have received a gene for curly hair and I have also received a gene for straight hair from either of my parents, then my hair should be curly because I have that particular gene and it is being dominant. But for another situation, let's say I have received a gene for straight hair from my father and I have received a gene for straight hair from my mother. That means from both the cases, I have received an allele for straight hair. My hair cannot be curly, even though it is dominant. They will always be straight. So that is the importance of being dominant and being recessive. And if both the parents they have given curly hair gene or curly hair allele, in that case no doubt the my hair will be curly. So that is the logic behind it. I will explain this on the board in a while, but let me finish this whole list first. In case of eyebrows, we can either have heavy bushy eyebrows or we can have thin eyebrows, and this refers to the how many like that particular cells, how many hair they can grow on its own. So that particular information is genetically coded in terms of eyebrow phenotype. So they can be either heavy or bushy, which is a dominant phenotype, and a thin line of the eyebrow, that is a recessive phenotype. Now, this does not count or this does not talk about the artificial thinning of the hair or artificial broadening of the eyebrows. Yeah, that is not counted because that we do it like as a part of cosmetic thing on our face. So that is not included in this case. Then hair on the middle joint of the fingers. All these fingers that we have, there is this middle portion of the fingers and they have hair sometime. And that particular phenotype, when there are hair, that is the dominant one. And when there are no hair on this middle joint of the finger, not the middle finger, but the joint of the middle joint of each finger, if there is growth, that is the dominant phenotype. If there is no growth, that is a recessive phenotype. Then color vision. So either we can have color blind vision or normal vision. Normal vision is the dominant one. Color blinded vision is the recessive version. So those who are color blind, that means both your parents, they carried the gene for the color blindness. They themselves may not be color blind, but they have at least carried one gene which was, or one allele which was color blind, and that has been passed on to you. So you turned out to be a colorblind person. And of course, in normal scenario, that means both your parents, they have passed on to you the normal color vision gene. Again, tongue rolling. Rolling is the dominant phenotype. No rolling is the recessive phenotype. Uses of the hand, that is right-handedness or left-handedness. Now this is a little complex. That's why I have written there complex and highlighted it. Complex in the sense, it is not just decided by the genetic makeup. It can also be artificially trained to the body. So let's say I am a right-handed person, but I train myself to write, eat, or do some work with my left hand. Then it doesn't like it doesn't matter what genetic allele that I have received for my hand uses, but I have trained myself to be a left-handed person than a right-handed person. And also this has something to do with, if I'm right-handed person, that means my left hemisphere of the brain is highly active. And if I'm left-handed person, that means my right brain or right hemisphere of the brain is active. So that way also it is functional, and there is quite a lot of complexity to this particular phenotype. Then skin color, that is can be albinism, which means a white skin, or normal, which is pigmented skin. So albinism is a recessive phenotype, and the pigmented skin or normal skin is the dominant phenotype. Earlobe, like this earlobes, whatever we have, they can be either detached or what is called as free, or they can be sticking to the skin along this edge, and that is a free, that is the dominant one, and lobed, that is the recessive phenotype. Lips can be thick or thin. Thick lips is a dominant phenotype. Thin lips is the recessive phenotype. Okay, I hope this part is clear. Uh,
So,
yes.
the color blind and the normal one. So, uh, I get that the normal one is a dominant one,
Mhm.
but when people are color blind, like you said, everyone gets a gene of color blindness now.
Not everyone gets it. If at all you have it,
How would you know if you have it or not?
um, okay, so this I need to explain on the board. Uh, just give me a moment. So again, this part we are going to see in different cases. Let me increase this volume so you can hear me clearly. Okay, so let's say a normal person and a colorblind person, right? A normal person will have two alleles that he or she would have received from parent generation, right? The reason they are being normal, that means possibility is both the alleles that this person has received, they are either normal, right? Or at least one of them is normal and the other one is colorblind. Now, we do not use this denomination like how I am writing, but this is one possibility, and this is second possibility, right? We will come back to that how we write phenotype, but this is for your understanding now. Let's say a normal individual is there, or let's say I am the normal individual. That means I can have two possibilities, that I have these two types of it. Both my parents, they have been normal and they have given me the normal allele for the color vision. Or the other possibility is one of the parent has given me the normal normal vision color gene, and one parent out of my either mother or father, they have given me color blind gene. But because normal vision is the dominant one, I will have the normal vision and the color blind will not get expressed. Yeah. Now let's talk about this particular scenario. The person is color blind. That means both the parents must have given color blind gene to this particular individual. Otherwise, if let's say even one of the parent gives normal gene and the other parent gives color blind gene, then there is a dominant gene present which will get expressed. This person cannot be colorblind, so it doesn't fall in this category. So that's why only this is the possibility when the colorblind person can get both the colorblind gene from the parent.
Or
Yes.
is it possible like your parents have like normal color, but the child gets color blind?
Yeah, quite possible. That we are going to see in the Mendel's experiment. How does that happen? So what usually happens is, uh, okay, let me just quickly explain that part as well. Let's say you have a parent who has received Again, this is not the way we write in genotype and phenotype, but again for simplistic understanding, normal and color blind, that is your male, that is father, and the female, that is mother, will also have normal and color. Now, both of them they will have normal vision because both of them they have the dominant gene, so their vision will be normal. Right? Even the mother will be having normal vision. Now, even though again here the same case, though the color blind gene is present, but what happens is when the gamete formation happens, these two genes will separate, two alleles will separate, like how we have seen in the case of meiosis. The chromatids separate, the chromosomes separate, and only half of the chromosome is being passed. So let's say in this case it has these two possibilities, that it can form gametes with these chromosomes. That is, out of those 23 chromosomes, it will have either this or the other 23 will have this. Same is the case here also. It can have this or it can have this. Is this part clear? In that case, so possibility of the offspring is, like you remember that we had done that for X and Y process. This gamete can fuse with either this or this gamete can also fuse with this. So that is NN. That means this particular individual will have normal vision. Let's say if it is possibility is this N and C. This person will also, the offspring will also have normal vision even though there is a color blind gene because N is dominant one. In this case, that is N and C, again this person will also have a normal vision even though there is a color blind gene present. But in the last case, if you see, both of the genes or alleles that are being received from these parents out of this four possibility, and let's say that individual offspring has received both color blind genes, then this individual will surely be color blind. These will be the carrier, like the parents. This will be the non-carrier and normal vision person. Yeah, does that explain your question?
Yeah, sir.
Okay, I hope.
So, one more thing.
Mhm.
So, like, suppose your parents they have different like brown eye color, and but the kid is born with gray eye color. So that's possible, right? Like it's normal, now.
No, come again.
See, both of your parents they have brown eye color, but the child is born with gray eyes. So it's normal, right?
Brown eyes to gray eyes you are talking about.
Yeah, like both the parents have brown eyes, but the kid is born with gray eyes. It's normal, huh?
Yeah, it is very, very normal. And the reason I gave you there was in case of especially the eye color, this is a polygenetic trait. Polygenetic trait means one trait being decided by many genes or many alleles. They can be different genes for one particular trait. So that is when it can get decided, and there are quite a lot more complexity to this than we say it so. So for example, let's say one parent gives brown color of the eye, other parent gives blue color of the eye, but the child has the third color, that is gray eyes, for example. So that means the gray color gene has caused something brown and blue color of the genes to suppress and express only the gray color. So that is again, why does it happen and how does it happen? that we need not go into the details, but in such scenarios, that's when the child color or the eye color of the offspring will be different than that of the parent, and which can be totally different, need not be carried from the parents as such.
So one more thing adding to the previous question. So but the child is like born with gray eyes, but naturally, like after a few years, that child's eye color changes. Then is it normal?
Color usually does not changes over the lifetime.
It does, sir. I was born with gray eyes, but now have brown eyes, sir.
Quite possibly, then that was not the what you say. There must have been some genetic interaction, and that is why it is said as polygenetic. In most of the cases, it does not happen. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
But it is again a completely normal thing. It's okay to have this changing color of the eyes. I don't know, but I haven't come across such a situation. Maybe I need to look at it, but like to the extent that I know, quite possibly because of the polygenetic trait of this particular phenotype. Okay.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Sir, so like I've seen in many flower shops and like nurseries, they kind of mix and match different flower colors. Like so in rose they have weird colored roses, and then they grow one rose which is like rainbow colored or something. Okay, so can we do that with ourselves? Like can we like alter our DNA or genes and like grow different kinds of hair on our head?
Yeah, quite possible.
Oh,
But
so like, but
that,
then you have to do that to every single DNA thingy in your body, or
so instead of doing it every single DNA, you have to do it at the embryonal stage.
oh, right.
So
Okay.
that's when everything starts. So if you do it in the embryonal stage, then all the future generations from that embryonal stage will always have those whatever change that you have.
But so how do you like specifically do it? Because that cell would be in your mother's womb, right? So
How do you do it? Okay. Do you want that answer right away, or can we do it
no,
now?
it's okay. I can wait. Sir.
So then we can discuss this after the class. Okay. Remind me, but yeah, if
That way you can create the perfect baby, right?
sorry, that way.
You can create the perfect baby.
Yeah, correct. So we will discuss that part at the end of the class. It's interesting thing for sure. Okay, so come back to the class. So these are the different characteristics, and obviously these are just handful of them that we are saying. Otherwise, there are quite many more to this. So let's look at why does this hand use or even the color of the eye, this kind of the trait, they are not so straightforward like curly hair and straight hair. So like in this case, it can either have curly hair or straight hair. There is nothing apart from that. Why does the color of the eye is changing from like different colors, or even being a left-handed person, you can be right-handed and so on. So there are certain reasons, and also for albinism, like we know, like skin colors, they are drastically different in different individuals, ranges from complete white to complete black, and they can be of different shades in between, right? So why does that particular thing happen is because of these three phenomena, or even these three which is written here: incomplete dominance, codominance, and the contribution from many other genes. So that is what we'll see here. So we know dominant is the trait that will mask, or that will mask the other trait, but it will express itself. Recessive is the one which is masked and in one generation, but it can reappear in some other generation, and that is the example of this color blind thing. It was not there in the parent, but it came out in the children or offspring. So that is the recessive phenotype. Now there is again these three terminologies not a part of your syllabus, but just to make you understand this particular case of why does this color of the eye changes, I am explaining it here. Otherwise, not a part of syllabus here. So incomplete dominance. So it is a dominance, but it is incomplete in a way, right? And again, the name itself would say something. So a trait in which heterozygous shows a different phenotype from the homozygous dominant type. So what does this mean? Is I guess I will have to use the board again. Let me go back to the board. So I will explain this particular part. Spotlight. So there is usually now forget that nomenclature that I had used for M and C. I will tell you how we write in genetics in general. Let's say there is a person who is tall. That means it tall is defined as T and short that will be defined as not by S but by small t. And we know tall is the dominant phenotype. So I'm not writing completely. And short is the recessive phenotype. So whichever is recessive phenotype, we write the small letter for dominant one. We do not write the capital letter of the recessive one ever. So that is just the nomenclature how we write. So let's say again in another example, if I have a white flower and if it is dominant one, that means I can use capital W. And if I have purple flower of the same plant, that is a recessive phenotype, and for that I will use small w, but I will not use p. Yeah. So look at the difference how we write in genetics. Again, another example: blue color of the eye, right, and brown color of the eye. Now blue is the recessive one, and brown is the dominant one. Now in this case, luckily both the letters are same, but still dominant one is always capital and the recessive one is small. Otherwise, even if it is gray and brown, and if brown is dominant, we will write capital B and small. So that is the way we write it. I hope you have followed this. Then the next thing that I want to say is, oh, I shouldn't have done it. This particular part. So let's say again, tall is capital T, that is dominant, and short, that is recessive, so it will be small t. Homozygous means both the alleles, whichever has been received from the parents, they will be same. So what does homozygous mean? It can either be both tall, that is homozygous, or it can also be both short, that is still homozygous, right? This is a dominant, this is a recessive. So this is what is called as homozygous dominant. This is called as homozygous recessive, right? Again, tall is the dominant phenomena or dominant phenotype. Short is the recessive phenotype. Homozygous means both alleles, whichever are received. Let's say this is received from father, the other allele is received from mother. Both are same. So this is homozygous, and both are dominant. So this is homozygous dominant. This is homozygous because both the alleles whichever are received are same, and there is recessive characters. Both of them they are recessive. So this is homozygous recessive. I hope this part is clear. Now, in this case, there is another characteristic which is called as hetero. Now, what does heterozygous would look like? One heterozygous means different alleles. So, in this scenario, there is only one possibility. That is, one of the parent is giving the tall gene, and the other parent is giving the height, which is corresponding to the short gene. Yeah. Now, it doesn't mean a gene is tall or a gene is short. It means that particular gene is coding for the tall height or short height. Yeah. Please pardon my words that way. So, heterozygous, only one possible combination exists, and this particular individual, because there is a presence of dominant allele, this individual who is heterozygous will always be tall, because there is a dominant gene which will express or which will mask this and then express itself, that is the tall. So heterozygous individuals will always express the dominant phenotype. Homozygous individuals, depending on what alleles they are carrying. If it is homozygous dominant, it will express the dominant phenotype. If it is homozygous recessive, it will express the recessive phenotype. This individual will be short, this individual will be tall, this individual will be tall. I hope you have understood this concept. I will take one more example based on the same cases so that you will get more used to these words often. Now let's say let's take an example of round seed and wrinkled seed. Yeah. Now round is the dominant phenotype, so it will be capital R, and wrinkled is the recessive phenotype, so it will be small r. Now in this case, and you can do this for yourself, homozygous dominant. Can someone tell me what will be homozygous dominant in this case? Homozygous dominant in this case, what it will be?
RR. I mean, capital R and capital R.
Right. It will be capital R, capital R. Why? Homozygous means same allele, but it has to be dominant. Dominant is which one? The one which is capital. If it is not written, that means the one which is capital is dominant. In genetics, this is the nomenclature. If it is written capital, that means it's dominant. In this case, we knew it that round is the dominant one, and that's why we have written it capital. But either ways, it works. So, homozygous, same allele, dominant, that means it has to be capital RR. Now, another case, that is homozygous recessive. What it should be? Again, go by the words. Homozygous means it has to be same allele, but which ones? Recessive, that means this is the recessive phenotype because it is written in short. So both of them has to be small r, small r. And the third one is the heterozygous. Now, in case of heterozygous, there is no dominant, no recessive. It's only heterozygous. Reason is you will tell me at the end. In heterozygous, that means both the alleles R and R. So that is capital R and small r. That means one of the parent has given the round seed shape, and the other parent has given wrinkled seed shape, and the expressed will be, in this case, this individual will be round seed, this individual will be wrinkled seed, wrinkled. and this individual will be round because there is presence of dominant gene. So this should be. I hope you have followed all of this with two different examples that we have seen. Okay, now I will go back to the. I will not have this because I will need it later. I hope this part is clear to everyone, and if you have doubts, please do ask. Share screen. Okay, so what was I explaining here? Yeah, so in case of incomplete dominance, the traits in which the heterozygous or heterozygote shows a different phenotype from the homozygous dominant phenotype. What it means is, like in the last case, we have heterozygous, which shows us capital R, small r. Ideally, it has to be round, but if it shows something else, like a wrinkled or mix of round and wrinkled or any other type, right? Now this may not be case in the round and wrinkled, but let's say in case of blue color and brown color of the eyes. So we have taken that example. One parent gives brown color of the eyes, other parent gives blue color of the eyes, but the offspring is gray color of the eyes, right? Which is completely different. This particular situation is the heterozygote, that means two different alleles, brown and blue, will show a different phenotype, that is gray, from the homozygous dominant type, whichever was the homozygous dominant type, that is either only blue or only brown. Those were the homozygous dominant type, but the heterozygote would be brown and blue and showing a different phenotype, that is the gray color of the eyes. I hope this part is clear. Incomplete dominance, you might wonder why does it happen. So these are the genetic activity. So each gene codes for a protein at the end, and that protein does certain function either in terms of color production or the pigment production, and then it shows in the offspring generation, right? That's how the function of this genotype works, to show a particular phenotype. And in this case, what happens is, let's say brown eyes and blue eyes, those genes, they were transferred to the offspring, but the color is color of the offspring, color of the eye in the offspring is gray. The reason could be that this gray color of the eyes, or the gene which codes for the gray color of the eyes, overpowered the function of the blue and brown genes. Overpowered the function, as in that protein was more functional than the brown protein and the blue protein. Yeah. Yes, Akshay.
Sir, but for the gray thingy to come, it needs to be there in the individual, right? Only the brown and the blue were given.
Now, when we talk of alleles and when we talk of polygenic nature, which is the next concept, that means for one particular phenotype, we have several genes. That means even though I have brown eyes, I might have more than 3 other colors present in my body, but the expressed one is only one. And that is what I guess Dita had asked that question. Is it possible that color change happens over the time? It is because of the polygenic nature, specifically in this particular case, that is this particular phenotype of color of the eye, that is polygenic. And there are other phenotypes as well which are polygenic, but others, they are not polygenic. Like for example, eyebrows or hair shape, they may not be polygenic. Or color vision, it's either normal or color blind. There cannot be anything else otherwise. But because this is polygenetic, that means more than one gene is associated with the color of the eye: brown, blue, gray, green, and so on. Yeah, and that is why this kind of phenomena might occur. Yeah, Akshay, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then there is next terminology, that is epistasis. This specifically refers to the interaction of the genes in which one hides the effect of another. That means, let's say, again, I will take the same example. I have brown color of the eye gene and blue color of the eye in terms of genes, and blue is the recessive one, brown is the dominant one. This is the same example I am taking from here. Brown and blue, both the alleles are present in me. Brown is the dominant one, but blue will mask the function of the brown, and it will not allow brown to express even though it is dominant. And then I will either have blue color or I will have some other color if that particular gene is overpowering the function of this blue. Yeah, that particular case is called as epistasis. Yeah, it is the interaction of the two genes in which one gene hides the effect of another. In this case, blue gene, even being it recessive, it is hiding the effect of brown being dominant, and it will not allow brown gene or the dominant gene to express itself. So that is what is epistasis. Okay, I hope this part is clear to everyone. Does anyone have any doubt here?
Sir, can you go to the next slide?
Huh?
Sir, so normally even when the dominant one masks the recessive effect, that is also called epistasis, right? According to the definition.
Correct. Okay. So that these are the various concepts that we had to see. Now there is something called as monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross. Dihybrid cross we will not see as of now here. We will see it at the end when we are going to look over the Mendel's experiment. So we will not talk about it. But before I come to monohybrid cross, let me talk about the phenotype and genotype. Though we had seen it, but this description I felt was more appropriate to these terms. So the term phenotype refers to the observable physical properties. Now, when we talk of the observable physical properties of an organism, we only think of in terms of physical appearance, right? But that is not the case. Even, for example, the level of hormones or the number of blood cells or the length of the bone or the distance between the shoulder plates or length of the vertebral column, height of the skull, all of these characters, though they are internal and they might not be physically apparent, they will still be called as phenotype, because phenotype is a result of a particular genetic information which is called as genotype. So for each of these characters, that is the phenotype, we will have certain genetic information being present in the genes, and that is why they all are phenotype. So the organism's appearance, surely that is the physical part, development, that is the internal part, and the behavior, that is again a socio-emotional aspect, that will still be part of the phenotype. Behavior, how does it change with phenotype? Is, for example, the genetic material in my body has coded an information which says, okay, X amount of serotonin needs to be released, or X amount of dopamine has to be released, or X amount of adrenaline has to be released. So that particular information is provided in my genetic makeup, and that is how the behavior will be affected in a particular individual based on the phenotype. Okay, so phenotype is not just the physical appearance, but it is also related to the development and the behavioral characteristic of the individual. I hope this is clear, and we will not make a wrong notion about phenotype refers to the physical characteristic. Of course, whatever phenotypes that we had seen, they were physical characteristic, but that description does not limit to the definition of the phenotype. Then the genotype, it's nothing but the individual collection of the genes. Individual's collection of the genes means for each phenotype, there will be one particular gene. Like I had given you so many examples of the phenotype. For each of those functions, there will be a gene. There can be a single gene or can be many genes, like in case of polygenetic nature. But surely there is at least one gene, and they can have two alleles. So for one particular genotype, we will have two alleles. So that means for whatever expressed characteristics, let's say eye color, we will have two alleles. So for whatever length of the hair, we will have two alleles, and so on. And genotype is expressed when the information encoded in the gene's DNA is used to make protein and RNA molecules. So this genotype will be showing these phenotypes only when the DNA, that is the encoded information in the DNA, will express or will synthesize protein and RNA molecules. So that is the genotype. Actually, we don't have much time for the monohybrid cross. And I don't want to extend the class. So let's see this monohybrid cross in the next class. And again, for your own reference, what you can do is you can revise